Let's say you wanted to get 1 million impressions on your indie game. What would that require? Well, the easy approach is simply paying for an advertisement, but unless you're Jeff Bezos, that costs a tremendous amount of money. In fact, 1 million views for an ad on YouTube or Google has a CPM rate of roughly $10 to $15 when targeted towards gamers. Now, for those of you who don't know what CPM means, it stands for cost per mille, which is essentially the price you pay for 1,000 impressions. This means 1 million impressions at an estimated $10 per 1,000 views costs $10,000 for a single ad campaign. In order to see a return on your investment running an ad like this, you'll not only need a very high click-through rate, but also a really well monetized game. This is typically the reason why most of the ads you see for games are on mobile, because they usually have a very high CTR being free and also have a lot of microtransactions or in-game ads to monetize their player base. So the question is, what if you're an indie dev with zero budget but still want to get eyes on your studio? Well, I'm here to help, but you might be asking, why should I trust you out of all people? Honestly, you shouldn't trust me or any game dev YouTubers. But in terms of marketing, even though I'm not an expert, I do have over 10 years of experience, and between my studio's social media platforms, I've accumulated over 20 million views in the last 6 months alone. Just for comparison, this is roughly the equivalent of $200,000 in paid ads for completely free. So how do I do it? Well, first I need to start off by saying what works for me or anyone else might not work for you, so take everything I say with a grain of salt and don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. This video has 3 main sections where I'll be discussing my strategy, content, and analytics. Now, I mainly create short-form content, and the reason for that is simply because YouTube isn't my main source of income, game development is. My goal when it comes to making content is to solely get eyes on my games to help drive sales. Don't get me wrong, long-form content or devlogs are great if you want to earn some extra monthly income, but if your goal is to promote your games, short-form content is typically much easier to get impressions for the same amount of time and effort. If you find marketing your game a daunting task or don't know where to start, I hope this video helps give you a better sense of direction and some confidence. Now, before we get started, if you're watching this, it probably means you don't have any funding to develop your games, just like me, but thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Blue Ocean Games, you can now get funding for your indie studio without ever having to go through a publisher, which often means giving up your IP or creative control. With the new Rising Tide Challenge, all you need to do is submit your game trailer into the competition for a chance to win funding to help develop your game. On top of the generous cash prizes for the winners, the top submissions chosen from both Steam verified public voters and a panel of judges also get the opportunity to pitch their game to Blue Ocean Games for up to $300,000 in funding. You can join the competition right now by heading to their website using the link below, then simply submit your trailer and join the event Discord server. The deadline to enter is September 22nd, but I'll tell you right now, there were only 1,000 submissions in the last one, so your odds of winning are actually much higher than some game jams. Not only that, but they also made 6 offers to the winners of the last Rising Tide Challenge for life-changing amounts of money. If you're seeing this after the deadline, no need to sweat, there'll be more competitions in the future, so make sure to check out their website for details. Link below in the description. Now let's get into the video. Entertain first, then promote second. When it comes to short-form content, it's important to understand what expectations viewers have on these platforms. They don't want to be sold a product, they want to be entertained. If you can provide genuine value in your content, whether that's by making someone laugh or teaching them something new, then you're already doing better than 90% of the other videos that get uploaded on these platforms. When you entertain first, you get views, and when you get views, you can leverage that and your audience size to promote your games. Focus on consistency, not virality. Social media is a numbers game, and even though quality is important, what really matters most is consistency. This comes in 2 forms, your upload schedule and general format. The first thing is making sure you find a healthy balance between time and performance. Spending 3 hours on a single video might do slightly better than another you made in an hour, but the reality is you could have made 2 additional videos in that same time frame. The second type of consistency is making sure you don't stray too far away from your usual format. It's good to experiment and try new things, like I said, but if you want to build a following, you need to provide content that has a similar and recognizable style at a quick glance. This could be the editing, commentary, visuals, music, or honestly anything. Post on every platform, not just one. If you're going through all the time and effort to create videos, why would you limit your audience just to one single platform? Some people prefer YouTube, others might prefer Instagram or TikTok, so if you only ever post on one platform, some people might never even get the chance to see your game. Just to give you an idea about the total monthly users for each platform you could be potentially missing out on, here are the numbers. Some videos might perform better on certain platforms, and the great thing is, you can upload the exact same video everywhere with hardly any extra effort. Leverage your games for content. Of course, you're trying to get as many eyes on your games as possible to increase their chances of success, but content is a great way to highlight what makes your games unique or special. Sometimes the best way of selling your game to someone is actually by not trying to do that at all. That might sound counterintuitive, but doing things like showing off unique mechanics or talking about what you're passionate about is a lot more likely to get someone interested in your game. You don't need to constantly worry about plugging links or telling people to go play now on Steam. If someone's interested in your game, they'll find out exactly what it's called and where to play it. Be familiar with the 5 content pillars. If you're a game developer, you should understand this already, but the way you make games for a specific audience is no different than making content. This video is an example of being more educational, so if you're still watching this, it means you find this stuff interesting or helpful in some way. If I tried to mix several pillars into this one piece of content, the target audience becomes diluted and the performance will suffer. Some people suggest you should try to find a balance between making content using all 5 pillars, but I genuinely think everyone should test things out for themselves. I've never been a fan of one-size-fits-all advice because some channels might excel focusing on one pillar and others might do all of them. Write all of your content ideas down. If you're struggling to come up with ideas for a video, having a list to go through and pick from can really help. Not all ideas are worth making, but they're definitely at least worth writing down. If you're forced to come up with an idea every time you need to make a video, odds are, or at least from my personal experience, those videos don't typically perform well. Of course, you can use anything for this, but I like to use the Notes app on my phone in case I think of something while I'm out somewhere or in the shower. If you want to take your content more seriously, this is definitely a great and easy place to start. Don't overthink your content ideas. This was something that I found out pretty quickly when I first started creating content. I realized I had absolutely no clue what people wanted to see. I messed around trying so many different things until I started to find my comfort zone. You don't know what good content is for your audience until you actually start applying it in a practical sense. Also, sometimes you might think an idea is really stupid, but those are the ones I encourage you to try the most. I've often been surprised so many times thinking a video wasn't going to perform well, and then it ends up getting hundreds of thousands of views. Don't be afraid to repeat what works. If a video performed well, you didn't get lucky. You made something people wanted to watch and there was a reason for it. Social media platforms do their best to serve people content they want to see, and when people watch or engage with your video, that leads to more impressions. At first, it might feel cringe or cheap to recreate your content in slightly different ways, but if the format or style worked, why not keep doing it? Now, this section of the video is going to be a bit different. When it comes to analytics, there's a lot of things to consider and discuss, so I figured I'll just show you guys examples from my own videos. You want to make sure your content is always improving, and a fantastic way of doing that is finding out what might be hurting your video's performance. I'm not going to go super in detail because I don't think it really helps, but there are a couple things I need to mention which can make a really big difference. To start, these are the analytics from my best performing short with 2.1 million views on YouTube, 2.4 million on Instagram, and 400,000 on TikTok. There's a bunch of analytics they give you, but what I'm going to be talking about is the audience retention graph. This alone can tell you so many different things, so let's break it all down. If your video has a super steep curve or slope down at the start, this means you failed to grab people's attention. Particularly with short form content, you have around 2 to 3 seconds to give someone a reason to keep watching your video, and if you don't, they'll scroll away. Here at the beginning of the video, 183% of people were still watching, and for being a 41-second long clip, that's typically incredibly hard to achieve. You want your videos to have a small curve down at the start, followed by a straight line. If it doesn't, go back and rewatch your content to see what you could have done better to get people to stick around. This graph can also be great for pointing out any major red flags in your content. If you compare the graph I just showed from my best performing video to my worst, which only has 500 views, you'll see just how drastic the difference is. This is what a very unhealthy retention graph looks like. It's an avalanche going straight off a cliff, and the crazier thing is, it's only a 21-second video. I posted this over a year ago and really didn't know how to market my games at the time. If you see any sudden dips anywhere in this graph that isn't at the start, go to that exact point in the video and see what happened which caused people to lose interest. Usually the things that hurt your video's performance stand out like a sore thumb, so when you find out what that is, make sure you don't make the same mistake in a future video. The last piece of advice I have when it comes to analytics is listening to your audience's engagement. You can get some videos that perform incredibly well, but have a lot of hate comments or dislikes. It's much easier to get views and engagement by making controversial videos, but this is not at all how you want to build a community for your studio. I strive for a very high like ratio, meaning I stay away from making content that people have indicated they don't want to see. I usually get around 98 to 99%, but your baseline might look a lot different. If you're regularly getting anything under a 90% like ratio though, you might want to rethink your content or try some very different things. If there's anything you could take away from this video today, it's this. Those studios who get more views than you typically aren't smarter or better than you in any way. They just post more often and consistently. You don't need to be an expert or have millions of dollars to get eyes on your games. You just need to start posting and learn from it. Don't just make videos for a few months and give up because you're only getting a couple hundred views. Literally everyone starts in the same place, so don't let that bring you down. Sometimes it might seem like you're not making any progress, but I can promise that you are, and in 6 months or a year, you'll look back and be glad you never stopped. This video took a long time to make, so if you found it helpful and wouldn't mind helping me back in return, consider subscribing. We're getting close to 20k already, so thanks so much for all the support. If you want to check out my games on Steam or join the Discord, you can find all those links down below in the description. My name's Max Anderson, and see you beans in the next video.